Maddie, are you ready? All right. If Maddie's ready, then we'll let Grace in. Hi, Grace.
Hi, Liz.
Welcome to my show. Let me pin you here.
Wonderful.
Maddie, you're still playing music. Quit it. Welcome, Grace.
Thank you.
So you are here to talk about Final Fantasy X.
I am.
All right. Whenever you're ready, you may begin.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me to talk about something I've been obsessed with since I was 7. So we're going on 20 years, which is kind of wild. Anyway, Final Fantasy X is a video game that was released on the PlayStation 2 in 2001, and it is the 10th game in the Final Fantasy series. It was the first one to ever have dialogue spoken. So there were Japanese voice actors and English voice actors, and the dub to English is really bad, but it's really fun. And what else can I say about it? Well, the plot is really amazing, and you basically start off as a child athlete who's 17, who's like a star athlete of this made up fantasy sport. And then you get transported to this other world that's 1,000 years in the past, and you're trying to find your way home with your like band of heroes. I think the coolest part about it, I didn't prepare this. I'm just also talking from my heart.
Yeah, well, I've never played this game, and I've never played any
I'm
Final
excited
Fantasy
to tell you
game.
all about it.
Okay, great.
The coolest part about this game, in my opinion, is that I consider it a decolonial project because the 9 Final Fantasy games prior really were in a Western inspired world. Like the first 5 or 6 Final Fantasies were very like feudal themes, like very medieval and or feudal, like knights and battles and castles and like stone paths. And then Final Fantasy VII was very like cyberpunk, futuristic. This is the first game that really, in the Final Fantasy series, that the geography and climates and different just like regions of the world really reflect Southeast Asia. Like there's a lot of like humid places and island places and beach places and jungle places and places that aren't all just like built up and it more European looking and feeling. And the architecture is really clearly inspired by Southeast Asia. So that's really beautiful and cool. My other favorite part about this game is the music. It was largely composed by this guy named Nobuo Uematsu, who composed most of the other Final Fantasy games. And it's really, really gorgeous. There's really amazing themes in it. And I feel like it just completely adds to the experience. The other really cool part of the game is that in a bunch of the other Final Fantasy games, you would use these battle things called summons. So whichever ones of your characters were summoner characters, they could call on their spiritual energy. And there's some music that's playing really quietly in the background that you can't hear. That is the music. But so summoners like harness the spiritual energy and they then do an attack pretty much using this summon. But in Final Fantasy X, the summons actually are their own characters. And so you can play as them and you have to solve puzzles to get more of them at different temples where your characters are like praying to get them. And so you become more emotionally attached to them.
Praying?
Hmm?
Praying? They're praying at these temples?
Yeah, so I can go back a little bit. So in this game, the character you're playing as ends up following a young summoner, and her job is to go on this spiritual pilgrimage to try and kill this demonic entity named Sin that is ravaging the world, and it kills everything in its path. And the only way that the people of this world know how to destroy it is to have a summoner go through this world and gather these summons called aeons, and then basically eradicate this thing called sin, but it only lasts for 10 years. So you're sacrificing your life as a summoner for 10 years, and then it inevitably returns. And the people of this world have kind of based their religion around it, basically saying like sin exists because we have sinned, and there's no way to get rid of it because humans will always be bad, and like we're always meant to suffer. And so a big part of the game is like challenging that assumption and learning more about the religion and, hi Stella, and government, and how they intertwine, and how everything is more corrupt and complicated than it seems.
So it's a very
that's another
like
really cool part about it.
it's very like fixing the parts of demon, like not that's not the right word. Like it's like about Christianity, kind of.
It's a lot about Christianity. It's very like Nietzsche. It's very like kill God. Yeah, I highly recommend it. It's amazing.
Isn't Mickey Mouse in it?
No, you're thinking of Kingdom Hearts, which was the more profitable like cousin of Final Fantasy. So the game Final Fantasy before Final Fantasy 9 was produced by a company called Squaresoft, and then it merged into a company called Square Enix. They partnered with Disney to make this game called Kingdom Hearts, which I fucking hate because there's Mickey Mouse in it.
Okay.
Like
this whole time I was like,
no,
like Mickey Mouse is praying to God.
I wish. No, I really dislike the Kingdom Hearts series because they have like Goofy and Mickey in it, and it's all like it's like a lot of the similar vibes, but Disneyfied, which is like my nightmare. So
yeah, it's like it's like Mickey killed God.
It's like Mickey saw a really bad guy, but then they decided like if you have love in your heart, then you'll all be friends.
Yeah,
it's kind of like Kingdom Hearts. So there are Final Fantasy characters that appear in the Kingdom Hearts games because it's like a cross. It's kind of like Super Smash Brothers, where like all the different characters all over are like interacting in the same world.
Okay, back to Final Fantasy X. Tell me about the characters. You said the main character plays a game that doesn't exist?
Yeah, the main character, he plays a game called Blitzball, which is basically underwater soccer. Somehow the characters can all breathe underwater, no problem. So they play this game in a sphere full of floating water. And you're playing with this thing called a Blitzball, which you can Google it. It just looks like a ball with a bunch of white and blue knobs. Mm-hmm. And you're just trying to get this ball and a goal, and it is a mini game of the game, and it's very annoying. I one time played Blitzball for like 7 hours straight when my girlfriend was out of town. And I became a professional expert.
What is the here's a trick question, but also will help me sort of imagine this. What is the Neopets game that is most like Blitzball?
I can't remember any of them except for the ones with the little guy when you're dodging the ice cream.
Oh, I love those.
I love that one. Yeah. The Chia one. No, it's most like soccer.
Like soccer?
Soccer, but you're underwater, so you're kicking a ball through the water instead of kicking it on ground. So the gravity's different, basically. Yeah, it's totally fake. It's awesome.
What are the other characters like? Who's your favorite character?
My favorite character, well, the bad guy I think is really hot. His name is Seymour, and he has blue hair, and he wears like a V-neck robe that goes all the way down to his belly button. So it's like a super deep V-neck.
Wow.
The other characters, so yeah, Titus is the main guy. The summoner who you're following on her pilgrimage, her name is Yuna. There's also a bunch of racial politics in the game. So there's this like race of people called the Al Bhed, and they have spiral eyes. They're light-skinned with spiral eyes, but they use technology that has been banned by the more like religious sect, the religious government sect of most of the people. And so they're seen as heathens. So she's half Al Bhed, so one of her eyes is blue and her other eye is green. And there's a bunch of like overcoming prejudice with that racial politic, which is like, could have been done a little better in my opinion. But anyway, so she's another character. There's some romantic interest there. There's a goth, hot black mage named Lulu, and she has huge titties, and I love her. And she wears a dress made out of belts.
Wow.
And she's so cool. You should look her up. She has like red eyes. She's so awesome.
Lulu Final Fantasy.
My canon belief also is that every character in Final Fantasy X is trans. It's just like canon fact for my life. What other characters do I like? I like all of them. They all have I was talking to Georgia about this morning, that any of them could be the protagonist, because they all have such clear backstories and motivations and conflicts and goals. So like they're all really well fleshed out. There's a old guy named Orin who's really hot also. He's like a mage who has a scar down his eye and wears sunglasses, and he's very cool. There's also a lot of daddy and mommy issues in the game, so that's really fun to play.
Who has the daddy and mommy issues?
Most of the characters have daddy issues. The main character, Titus, who you play as, is following in his father's footsteps as like this star blitzball player. And his dad like left when he was 10 and made him cry all the time. And so he hates him. But it comes up a lot. And the other character, Yuna, the summoner, her dad died fighting Sin. So she's also resting on her shoulders, or that's resting on her shoulders. And then Seymour, the hot guy, bad guy, his dad also died suddenly and unexpectedly. So there's like just tons of daddy issues.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is. I want you to come watch me play it.
I would love to watch you play it.
Now that I've told you all about it.
Stream it on my Twitch channel.
I would love nothing more. I actually wanted for my birthday party to call it Final Fantasy 27 and just get really fucked up in Twitch live stream myself playing.
That's a great idea. I would watch that for hours and hours.
Okay, perfect. It's a date.
You wouldn't even have to say anything.
Also, the CGI cutscenes in this game like really push the limits of the PlayStation 2. They're like gorgeous for their time. The remaster makes them even prettier. There's like cinematic cutscenes, which were kind of new to that console in that time. And when you would look at it now, it looks like how any video game would be played. Like their best graphics are what normal gameplay graphics look like now. But it really shows you how far we've come in 20 years. Yeah. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
Do you have any what do you associate the game with? Do you love it for like you played it at a good time in your life? Do you love it cuz I don't know, it was your first favorite game? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it was definitely one of my first favorite games. It had a really big emotional impact on me because a lot of the games I had played before that were like Pokemon or like, whatever, run around and collect stuff and jump over stuff and you win. And this one was actually a plot and drama. And you get really attached to all the characters. And of course, things happen to them that are very sad and beautiful. And also the music. I forced my sibling to burn me a copy of like their favorite songs on a CD. And I listened to it nonstop. And I like in my 4th grade music class, I had them play music through the boombox in my music class one day. So, and I still listen to it all the time, the soundtrack, including lo-fi hip hop remixes now that that's popular and is available.
Have you played it on cello ever, any of the songs?
Yeah, I've taught myself a bunch of the songs on cello, and also my best friend Jasmine, who lives downstairs, plays piano, and I made her learn the sheet music for the intro theme, which is piano music. So yeah, it's just always with me. Pretty gay.
That is pretty gay.
That's pretty gay. Yeah.
All right, you have 1 minute left. Any final thoughts on Final Fantasy X?
So, there's so much more to say. So I'm just going to, Twitch stream it with you. And I look forward to coming back on the show and talking about something else for 15 minutes because it's so much fun. And I love you.
I look forward to that too. I hope you had a good time.
I had an amazing time.
Oh, thank you.
I'm
Thank you so
excited
much.
to hear Maddie talk about Buffy.
Oh, that's James is talking about Buffy. Maddie
is
doesn't
talking
know what
about
she's
Buffy.
talking about yet.
Oh,
Maddie's
okay.
choosing
I
between
saw the wrong name. That makes sense that James is talking about Buffy. I'm very thrilled about that.
All right. Thank you so much, Grace.
Of course, I love you.
I love you too. See you later. Feel free to log out of the Zoom whenever you're ready.
Bye.